Hello everyone and welcome to Sambhav Law. In today's session, we have Gaurangi with us, who has secured 131 rank in the CLAT PG 2025 examination. And today she is with us to tell her story as to how she prepared for this exam. And accordingly, Gaurangi, I would like you to welcome you to the channel and please introduce yourself to the audience as well, please.
Hi everyone. Good evening, sir. It's so nice to finally be meeting you. I've been speaking to you on call throughout my preparation. Hi everyone. My name is Gaurangi Kaushik. I am a fifth year law student currently in my 10th semester, and I appeared for the CLAT examination in December of last year, 2024, and I am pursuing my BBA LLB honors from the North Cap University, Gurugram.
Yeah, fantastic. So, Gaurangi, if I come to my first question, firstly, I would like you to ask that what was the method, like what is the way that you started with your preparation and what are the things that you basically resources that you used for this preparation itself?
Sir, so primarily I found out last year in January that I would be appearing for the exam in December of the same year. So my first step was that I wanted to find a platform which would essentially provide me with all the material that I needed to prepare. Because since I also still had my eighth semester and my ninth semester pending, I didn't want anything which would be too cumbersome to add to my schedule because you have university exams, you have assignments. So I wanted something which would be flexible as per my own needs, and that is when I stumbled upon the course of Sambhav Law, which provided you with all the material. And I adopted that first and foremost for my preparation. Afterwards, I also spoke with you on a one-on-one call where you guided me as to how I have to approach the subjects and which subjects I have to keep as my priority. And I also analyzed and studied the past year papers to understand the question paper pattern better.
I see.
Like for example, sir, when I was analyzing the past year papers, you can understand that there are certain rudimentary subjects which are non-negotiable. So those are going to be asked irrespective of the number of the year that you're appearing in. So even if you're appearing in 2026 CLAT, you can expect constitution, you can expect the criminal laws, jurisprudence, environment law. So I accordingly would analyze the past year papers, and I would stumble upon the importance that I would have to grant to each subject, and accordingly I would prepare.
Yeah. So, Gaurangi, if I come to my next question, as we all know that the paper itself, the subjects that came this time around were a bit different from the past year papers that were basically there. So, what was your initial reaction while seeing the paper? And, according to you, what was the difficulty of the paper itself?
Sir, so I found that this time it wasn't as constitution focused. It was more focused upon your understanding and the more relevant laws in today's day and age. So even if you are studying the Supreme Court laws, you will figure out that there are a lot of questions coming from environment law. There are a lot of passages which come from jurisprudence. They focus a lot on SEBI, corporate governance. So being a corporate honors student myself, I actually found it to be quite helpful that these were the type of questions that came because I have a stronger grasp over the corporate honor subjects. And this time, I think the paper focused more so on reading comprehension and reading ability because the paper was so lengthy that when I went out of the examination hall and spoke to the other candidates for CLAT PG, they would tell me that their paper was not completed because they were not able to finish the paper in time. So reading comprehension and reading speed were something that really helped me in the completion and successful preparation of my exam.
Okay, so Gaurangi, if I come to my next question, what would you say if I just ask you that can you go step by step? First, we talk about the preparation of the foundational subjects, and secondly, the case laws itself. Can you walk us through step by step process as to how you went through for both of these units of studies, basically, if you can walk me.
Sir, so I was actually watching the Sambhav Law videos, which are already available on YouTube, prior to having bought the subscription for the self-study package. So in one of those videos, sir, you had mentioned that we should not wait to give the mock test after our preparation once we have covered a large number of subjects. Instead, you should start with your mock test as early as possible because that is going to give you maximum number of understanding of how the CLAT PG exam is going to be like. So that was my number one priority, that I have to attempt at least one mock a week. And because I was balancing this simultaneously with my university and my assignments and semester exams, etc., consistency would be the main thing for me. So primarily what I did was I focused on constitution and I focused on criminal laws, and that was my main objective. While studying those exams, while studying for those subjects, I would be looking at the video lectures that are provided by Sambhav Law and simultaneously doing the mock tests. After those subjects are secured, thereafter you can move on to subjects like jurisprudence and environment law. So for those subjects, what I would do is I would study the past year papers as well. Again, do the mock tests which are provided by Sambhav Law, especially the live mock tests. And I would try to work upon the case laws as well. So, sir, for case laws, I think in July last year, Sambhav Law started offering 144 landmark case laws for CLAT PG. It was in a tabular format. So I memorized that completely because I think it was less than 20 pages. So even if you're doing 5 pages a day, you are able to finish 144 landmark case laws in just 4 days. So I would focus on that primarily, simultaneously give my mocks. After giving the mocks, I would analyze the mocks because from that also you can understand certain things. One of the very frequently asked questions in the Sambhav Law mocks was assumption and fact questions, which would come. Assumption and fact questions actually ended up coming in the CLAT PG exam as well. So because I had given so many mocks, it felt as if the final exam was a mock itself.
I see. So basically, what your strategy was in a nutshell, it was basically that you focused upon your studies in the foundation subject department. Apart from that, you basically focused upon a lot of mocks. Basically, as you said, that you followed the strategy that I had basically given. So the core component that one has to understand regarding CLAT PG is that if you don't understand how the paper works, even if you study for like 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, if you're not practicing and if you're not understanding as to what the type of question is coming, like as you mentioned, assumption reasoning questions and the match the following questions, if you don't understand that, and if you don't understand as to how the paragraph is working, what is the mindset of the examiner itself while he's creating the paper, you cannot think of challenging the whole pattern itself. It's very, very difficult. So it is very, very important that you study, focus upon the mocks from the start if you basically are able to go through that. And apart from that, Gaurangi, if I come to my next question, there are also other subjects like TPA or TOTS, tax law. What was the preparation regarding those subjects? How did you focus those basically?
Sir, so because we've already studied those in university, naturally you are having a rudimentary understanding of what those subjects are, but you require a revision. So for that purpose, Sambhav Law provides with the video lectures. So because I would come back from university, I would be a little bit tired. And at that point in time, I can't expect myself to be doing any tedious studying. I would just switch on those video lectures for torts or for constitution or for TPA, etc. And anything that I didn't understand or didn't know previously, I would make a note of that. But other than that, sitting with the bare act and watching those videos was sufficient to just get a revision of what's happening. So I would study in that mannerism, sir. And also, again, giving the subject-wise mock exams is also very helpful. Particularly giving the mock exams is mostly helpful because it will help you in your reading speed and your comprehension too. If you're giving mocks regularly, automatically your reading speed is going to increment.
I understand.
On the first of my preparation is at the very first instance, what I did was I gave a mock so that I could understand कि इतना तो मेरा score बैठ ही रहा है, इससे बढ़ेगा ही अब. So that is the first thing that I did.
I see. Acha, Gaurangi, apart from that, one more thing that one has to consider is that the amount of study that you have done in the last 5 or 3 years of LLB itself. So in your case, what would you say that you were a student who was very, very meritorious and you were always consistently, scoring very well in your college exams. And because of that, also you had a very good grasp of all the subjects that were there in CLAT PG, or you would say you were an average one, or like how would you basically classify that particular part?
Sir, I was a very meritorious student in my 5 year LLB. I used to study very diligently for the examinations and maintain a topper rank in my university. So for me, especially in that context, you have your class notes as well, which help you. You have all the material that has been provided by the university, but you need something which is very robustly focused on giving an exam. Because when you're studying for university exams, you are being taught the concepts. You need something that is going to help you prepare for an all India examination. So that is where Sambhav Law would come in. So I would utilize my university notes, I would say 20% of the time, 80% of the time, it would be the material that would be provided by my coaching.
I see. And apart from that, like if I talk more about the mock papers and also the case law summaries itself. So basically there are two type of case laws that are there. There are landmark case laws and then there are recent case laws. So, while preparing, what was your balance towards like how did you approach the recent ones and the landmark ones? And also one very frequent question students ask is that, sir, how many case laws do we have to study before giving an exam? So, how would you answer that particular question?
I would say that there is no maximum number of case laws that you can study. Since you already have reading comprehension and reading speed, which you need to focus on, I would suggest that you read up on the recent Supreme Court judgments which are coming in, especially for the year of 2025 and for the year in which you are going to be appearing, so 2026. That is what I would do. Follow regularly on live law, bar and bench, etc. Read those judgments. Not only is that going to help you in your understanding of what's judiciously happening around you, but you will also understand reading comprehension better. You will become better at your reading speed. And then for your landmark case laws, you already provide us with all the material from Sambhav Law. You have the 144 landmark judgments, which will be provided to you. उसके बाद भी आपने एक और tabular PDF provide करा था for the landmark judgments for 2025 CLAT PG. And simultaneously, if you are watching the video lectures that are being provided, हर एक subject में the landmark case laws are being discussed simultaneously. तो वो revision हो जाता है. Anyways, you studied it for your 5 years law courses. एंड देन जो रीसेंट केसेस होते हैं वो आप अपनी रीडिंग स्पीड और कॉम्प्रहेंशन के साथ साइमल्टेनियसली कवर कर लेते हो.
नहीं, ये वाली बात आपने बिल्कुल सही कही है. एंड अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट ऑल्सो लाइक गौरंगी, अगर मैं एक चीज़ों पे फोकस करता हूँ, व्हेन इट कम्स टू द एक्यूरेसी, लाइक इफ वी टॉक अबाउट एनी पेपर, इफ यू गिव इट and you are practicing on the mocks all the time, and it so happens that you're not able to score that well in the mocks, and basically you get bit, you don't feel good because you're not scoring well, something like that. And then comes the part that while you are practicing, you have to maintain a certain level of accuracy, like you have to attempt 90 questions or 80 questions, and then you are scoring after the negative marking. So what was your whole idea regarding that particular part?
Sir, so initially when I had started giving my mock exams, I would have the strategy that I'm only going to be attempting those questions which I am 90% certain are correct. But then when I started doing that, what I noticed was my score was not improving. And naturally, to land a tier 1 NLU, you require your score to be above a certain benchmark. So then I started thinking that I need to have my concepts clear. And even if I am 60% sure that this is going to be my answer, I would go ahead and attempt it. But where there is no possibility of you having that answer correct, and where it's a pure guess. For example, you don't know the name of the case and आपको 4 cases दिए गए हैं. So don't go ahead and attempt that question because there is a very limited number of chances that you're going to be getting that correct. But even if you have a conceptual clarity and you're making an educated guess and you are having a 60% chance that you may get this correct, I would say go for it. Because the maximum number of attempts that you're having, only that is going to be incrementing your score.
Okay, and accordingly, Gaurangi, like in case of this time around when you give the CLAT PG exam, how many questions did you attempt, and what was like your strategy regarding the same?
Sir, I think I left out only 13 questions which I did not attempt. Other than that, I tried attempting all of those. And will be 13 questions which I left were the ones which I was certain that I am not aware of this and I don't want to go ahead and just blindly go ahead and do a guess. So a lot of the questions, sir, in the CLAT PG exam this time around, you can figure out the answers if you are reading the paragraphs that are provided to you very meticulously. And a lot of students don't do that because they're under the pressure of finishing the exam within that stipulated number of time. And that is, again, where reading comprehension, reading speed comes in. Because if you're going through those passages quickly, you will automatically start understanding. You can build that base. Question already is going to be giving you with a certain number of information that you need to be able to answer. Plus, if you supplement that with your understanding of the passage, you will be able to figure, at least you can narrow down the options to like 2 or 3. And then you can go ahead and attempt. Because, sir, a lot of the students think कि 120 marks हैं, 120 questions हैं, and 120 minutes hai. So they think that there is 1 minute per question, but you should not be attempting it from that point of view because there are going to be questions which you can do in 30 seconds. Either you know it or you don't. And there are going to be questions which require you to actually apply your mind a little bit more. So you should always leave time for those type of questions to come in and then you can apply. So there will be some questions which may take up 1 minute, 30 seconds and other questions you can do in just 30 seconds, 20 seconds.
True that. And basically, one thing I would like to also add to this particular point is that, when it comes to the part that you're attempting all the questions and you know that, this particular question I know and this particular question is something that I think that I will not be able to do it. One thing which can be done is like a lot of students do is that they don't practice mocks a lot. And because of that, this particular skill that you have, that you're able to have an intuition as to if I get a particular question and I know that, yeah, this particular question will be answered by reading the paragraph itself. That particular intuition can only come when you are practicing mocks. That is very, very important. So what I feel is that along with having that intuition, that knowledge, you need to, like reading comprehension, you need to have a understanding of the questions themselves. And accordingly, you need to practice a lot only then you can say that, once I have my foundational subjects covered, along with that, my case laws, all the case laws that I have all basically studied, and I need to have a basic grasp of it. Because I would also say that, like in the case of subjects like case laws also, there are basically three ways, like three things that have to be covered. First, that are case laws that are basically there in your foundational studies themselves. Then second are the case laws that are landmark in nature, and then third are the ones that are recent in nature. So accordingly, like Gaurang, if I ask you that particular question, students are a bit confused. Like, there are questions from cases that are from 2016, then 2003 also, 1978 also, like the cases that, basically one would not even think that it might come, it is not that recent, and you have a bit of a confusion as to, what should I study, what should I not study. So how do you tackle that particular part, if I just ask you not?
Sir, so what I have noticed from analyzing the past year papers as well is if the exam is going to be consisting of a very old judgment, that
Hmm.
is going to be a landmark judgment. They do not expect you to know the meticulous and tiny little judgments which are going on, because naturally number of cases go on every single day. CLAT does not expect you to know those. CLAT expects you to know the landmark judgments. For example, admin law ka question आया था, L Chandra Kumar ka case था, which is a landmark
Yeah.
judgment for admin law.
Hmm.
So if you are worried about old case laws coming, you don't need to. Landmark cases preparation is sufficient for that. And again, recent case laws are going to be just covered by your normal daily routine reading of live law, bar and bench, etc. For example, sir, also mocks are going to be very helpful here. So what I realized was when I was giving the Sambhav law mocks, there was a question that I was repeatedly getting wrong. And this question was regarding Section 138 Negotiable Instruments Act.
Hmm.
So I went ahead and I studied that separately after my mocks were done, because I knew that this is a high probability question of coming in. And then if you just go into Indian Kanun or you go into Manu Patra and you type Section 138 Negotiable Instruments Act, you will automatically get case laws which are pertaining that. तो अगर कोई टॉपिक बार बार रिपीट हो रहा है, उसके चांसेस हैं कि उसके रिलेटेड केस लॉ भी एग्जाम में आ सकती है. तो अकॉर्डिंगली यू कैन प्रिपेयर.
Yeah.
And like you said, sir, I agree with you 100%. Mock tests are extremely important because there were questions coming in, assumption and facts ke questions, which I would get wrong. But then Sambhav law mocks, when you actually are analyzing the mock, it will provide you with an explanation for each question. So I would sit down after each mock and read the explanation for those questions, and then you start getting into the head of the invigilator and the person who has prepared that exam. So then you are able to understand ki kaise ye assumption wala question answer karna hai, because now you're putting yourself in their shoes.
Yeah, true. And accordingly, also, like Garangi, if I come to one more very specific point regarding the CLAT PG exam, it is about time management. So, whilst you are giving the paper, and it is very obvious that, people might get blown away with the amount of paragraph that is there, because we were also not aware of the fact that, 12 paragraph may come, or 24 paragraph may come. So basically, how would you say time management one should basically focus upon that? How should one go about it?
Sir, so time management for me is reading speed, because the entire paper, it's not like an ALET paper. I had also appeared for the ALET PG exam. ALET PG mein what you're going to be able to find is there are quick questions. You either know them or you don't, and you're able to finish the exam very sufficiently within the limited period of time. But for CLAT, you are having at least 3 paragraphs of a passage for 5 questions. And if you are not able to understand that passage, you automatically do not have confidence for the remaining number of questions that follow. So you need to have a good reading speed so that you are able to finish it in a quick period of time. And I particularly practice those mocks जिसमें paragraphs or passages ज़्यादा थी, because if I am practicing those mocks which are having a larger number of passages, automatically if I get lucky and CLAT decides to give a lesser number of passages, I would be able to manage that as well.
Yeah, and that is that, like this point that you have basically mentioned right now is something that even I basically had in mind, but I was not able to articulate it in the manner that you basically articulated it. Point is that, yeah, it is true. I mean, like if you attempt a paper that has more paragraphs in it, so basically the awards of you basically making a mistake increases, because there are a lot of subjects that are going to be covered, a lot of case laws that are going to be covered. Then also you have to apply your brain as to this question, okay, पैराग्राफ में आंसर आएगा नहीं आएगा, ओके ठीक है नहीं आएगा, चलो आगे बढ़ते हैं, इसको देखते हैं. एंड अगर लेस नंबर ऑफ पैराग्राफ आते हैं, देन बेसिकली योर डिफिकल्टी लेवल गोज डाउन, एंड ऑटोमेटिकली you are back to square one, कि you will be able to do your paper faster. So it is important कि आप उन मॉक्स पे जरा फोकस करें थोड़ा सा, बिकॉज जहाँ पे आपका जो नंबर ऑफ पैराग्राफ है बहुत ज्यादा, बट ऑल्सो इसमें एक चीज ये भी ऐड करने वाली है कि जो लंबे वाले पैसेजेस होते हैं, जिसमें कि देर आर नंबर ऑफ क्वेश्चंस आर मोर, वहाँ पे पैराग्राफ रीडिंग बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट बन जाती है, and वहाँ पे जो कंसेप्चुअल अंडरस्टैंडिंग होती है पर्टिकुलरली सब्जेक्ट की, दैट ऑल्सो कम्स इन टू प्ले. सो एवरी पेपर, एवरी पैटर्न दैट इज देयर फॉर द क्लैट पीजी एग्जाम हैज अ डिफरेंट सॉर्ट ऑफ रूल्स व्हेन इट कम्स टू हाउ द पर्टिकुलर पेपर प्लेज आउट. सो ऑल्सो ये भी हम लोग को ध्यान में रखना है, एंड ये भी हम लोग को ध्यान में रखना है, दैट इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. अच्छा, इसके अलावा इफ आई टॉक अबाउट लाइक वंस यू वर लाइक रीडिंग केस लॉस, यू सेड दैट यू वर फॉलोइंग द टेबल एंड ऑल, एंड अलॉन्ग विद दैट जैसे आप लाइव लॉ बारिश में फॉलो करते थे, तो वहां पे लाइक दे गिव यू केस लॉ समरीज, एंड उसमें वो लोग लाइक अराउंड लाइक 500-600 वर्ड से पूरा केस समझा देते हैं. डिड यू ऑल्सो टू फोकस टुवर्ड्स कि हाँ जजमेंट भी हम लोग को पढ़ना चाहिए, या फिर आपका व्हाट इज अप्रोच अबाउट दैट, लाइक जजमेंट रीडिंग होनी चाहिए, व्हाट शुड बी लाइक बैलेंस क्या होना चाहिए आपके हिसाब से?
Sir, I think अगर आप judgment reading करोगे तो that would be quite time consuming, and for me that was not feasible because I had my university also that I had to manage simultaneously. But there are certain cases that you are able to figure out जो ज़्यादा limelight में रहते हैं. So in that particular year in which you are appearing, if there is any judgment that is repeatedly in the limelight, or there is one particular issue which you can see being covered on news a lot, there is no harm in going ahead and reading that particular judgment. But I would not necessarily go ahead and advise that you have to read the judgment for each and every landmark case law. That's not required. But what you can do is for the landmark cases, at least, you should know the bench, you should know the court, which is specific to that, and you should know the relevant section. And if there is any dissenting opinion, who gave that dissenting opinion and what is the dissenting opinion? Because normally in the past year papers as well, that is what they are looking for. They're not looking that you must have read meticulously each and every judgment for the landmark cases, because that is far too time consuming.
Yeah, that is a very, very important point to be considered, because the point is ki if you start reading all the judgments that are given and you don't focus upon the major aspects that are basically given, basically you need to focus upon the ratio firstly. Arbiter में only if you need to go, then जब वहाँ पे हमें लगता है कि हाँ it is covered in the media itself, बहुत ज़्यादा coverage हो रही है, जैसे अभी if you talk about certain cases जो कि अभी आए हैं, इनकी वजह से न्यूज़ में हाईलाइट होता है that particular like maintenance या elements में जो certain orbitars या वो आ रहे, those are considered. So basically आपको वहां पे फोकस लेके चलना है, बिकॉज नेशनल डिस्कोर्स में क्या चल रहा है, यू नीड टू फोकस अपॉन दैट अलॉट, वो आएगा ही
We
आएगा.
also, and sir, just to add on to your point, we also should be aware of the history of that particular
Hmm.
case. So recently, Supreme Court has given a judgment regarding LGBTQ again. So you should be able to trace back कि वो कौन सी judgment थी which started this whole debate of LGBTQ, because that will also be asked.
Yeah, true. And also the fact that there are certain judges, because like see, like Justice D.Y. Chanchud basically has retired, and before that also there were a lot of judges जिन्होंने इतने इतने अच्छे judgments दिए हैं. So you also need to have this particular sort of a hunch, like if you are reading a particular passage or if you're reading a particular case, and you basically get an idea as to who's the writer of that particular judgment. If it's a case that has a very structured way of judgment writing, then you can obviously assume that it is Diva Chanchud, and if it's not, then it may be somebody else. There are certain justices, like if I talk about Arun Mishra or some people, they used to give judgments that are very very that have very hard language, or you would say that these are judgments that basically are good, but basically what the point I'm trying to make is that आपको अगर पता है कि कौन सा जजमेंट का राइटिंग स्टाइल क्या है, तो यू कैन ऑल्सो प्रेडिक्ट कि हाँ भाई जो बेंच आई है, बेंच में अगर मैं मतलब 3 जज या 4 जज का नाम है, यू कैन बेसिकली वो कर सकते हो आप उसमें कि हाँ भाई ये है ये नहीं है. तो इट बेसिकली डिपेंड्स अपॉन द क्वेश्चन पेपर इटसेल्फ कि क्या पूछ रहे हैं क्या नहीं पूछ रहे हैं. अच्छा, कमिंग टू माय नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, इफ आई टॉक अबाउट सोर्सेज, मान लीजिए इफ यू बेसिकली सेड कि आपने कॉलेज के नोट्स का यूज किया, आपने संभव लॉ में जो हम लोगों ने नोट्स दिए तो वो आपने बेसिकली यूज करे. सो व्हाट वुड यू से कि जो आपको जो बेरैक्ट होता है, और जो बेरैक्ट का आपका जो पूरा कंटेंट वाला पोर्शन होता है जहाँ पे पूरा इंडेक्स दिया हुआ है, एंड ऑल्सो द न्यू लॉज एंड द ओल्ड लॉज जो आपके आईपीसी सीआरपीसी एविडेंस था, या फिर बीएनएस बीएससी था, इन सबको आपने बेसिकली कैसे कवर किया?
Sir, so like I had previously mentioned, I would, for majority of the subjects which are required, like constitution, criminal laws, I needed a revision of them. So I would watch the video lectures which are provided by Sambhav Law. But again, it would be very tedious to make notes for every single subject. So rather, what I would do is I would sit with the Bare Act. I would have a pencil in my hand. Whatever I did not previously know or whatever I had forgotten, I would write that in the Bare Act itself. And then before you're going to bed or maybe the next day, you can just do a quick revision, skim through everything that is there. As far as the new new criminal laws are concerned, I started preparing those in October because I started to get an idea that maybe a few questions will be asked regarding the new criminal laws. So if you purchase the new criminal laws bare act, most of them have a tabular differentiation which is provided between IPC and the new criminal law. So if you are already fundamentally clear with IPC, CRPC evidence, और आपको वो tabular chart दे दिया गया है, you can automatically compare and it becomes very easy for you to study and catch up to the new criminal laws as well.
Yeah, that is true. And basically, that tabular chart has to be studied in a very, very, specific manner. कि if we know that there are certain aspects of IPC, मान लो कि general exceptions important है, crimes against human body important है, पहले आपको उनको sections को खत्म करना है, जो नए आपके acts या फिर जो sorry sections add हुए, उनको आपको पहले basically force करके चलना है. उनके जो ingredients उनके आपको एक key focus रखना है कि हाँ इसको पढ़ के मैं अपना जाऊँ. That is very, very important to consider as well. अच्छा, इसके अलावा if I come to my next point, basically अगर मान लीजिए इफ यू हैव अ टाइम कंस्ट्रेंट, मान लीजिए कि जैसे होता है कि देर आर बीच फेस्टिवल्स आते हैं, आप मान लो दिवाली आया, कभी होली आया, कभी कोई आया, एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दैट आप टाइम मैनेज नहीं कर पाते, बिकॉज देर आर लॉट ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स एज वेल, बिकॉज टाइम मैनेजमेंट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. इसलिए बिकॉज जैसे आप हो, यू आर समवन हु हैज बीन इन कॉलेज, आप अभी 9th 10th सेमेस्टर में हो, एंड आप कॉलेज के साथ में अपने टाइम को मैनेज करते हुए पढ़ाई भी कर रहे थे, फिर आपने इतना अच्छा स्कोर भी करा. सो ये जो पूरा टाइम मैनेजमेंट है, लाइक फेस्टिवल्स आ रहा है, कॉलेज का भी कर रहे हो, असाइनमेंट भी है, सब ये कैसे वन शुड गो अबाउट, दिस इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट है. प्लीज मतलब इसको थोड़ा डिटेल में प्लीज बताइएगा पूरा अपना जो आपने बेसिकली किया.
Sir, so for me, it was very clear that I started my preparation in January and I had my exam on 1st of December. So I knew that I have this whole year in which I can prepare. But इस पूरे साल में ऐसा नहीं है कि मैं daily 8 घंटे 10 घंटे dedicate कर सकती हूँ to CLAT PG because I have my university exams, university assignments. जब vacation भी होती थी तो भी I would be interning because I do plan on going into corporate law in the future. So internships are very important. So I could not miss out on any of those things. So what you need to understand in this point of view is you need to make chunks of your time when you're going to be more free and when you're going to be less free. For example, Diwali aa rahi hai, ghar mein koi shaadi hai. So what you need to do is when you are more free, that is the time to dedicate yourself purely towards CLAT PG. For example, jab 8th semester start hua, 9th semester start hua, the first month of college is going to be very relaxed relatively. Exams start nahi hote, padhai chal rahi hoti hai, assignments are also typically not there. So when I would come back from university, that was the time, that 1 month time, jab bhi semester start hota hai, where you can give your maximum effort towards CLAT PG. Us time pe I would work on case laws as well. I would work on watching video lectures. I would work on mock tests as well. Then जैसे जैसे आपका semester आगे बढ़ेगा, naturally you will be having assignments, you will be having semester exams. So तब भी consistency नहीं छोड़नी है because then you will completely get out of the loop and the chain will break. Then you will have to start and rewire your brain again for this entire preparation process. So rather what I would do is when I'm extremely busy and I don't have the time to dedicate myself towards CLAT, at least sit for a mock because that is just 2 hours of your time. या तो आप सुबह निकाल लो, रात को निकाल लो, and just give that mock. The next day, just look through that mock. What were the questions that I got wrong? What were the questions that I got right? When I was interning in June and July, I would get back home from my internship around 6 p.m. After that time, I would dedicate myself towards CLAT PG because tab at least university nahi hai. And especially what you have to keep in mind is there are subjects which are going to be asked in the exam which you are going to be yet to cover. For example, taxation एक ऐसा subject है जो 9th semester में cover होता है. And tax से almost what I've realized is एक question तो आता ही है either CLAT में या ALET में. So what you can go ahead is when you're studying that subject in your university, you can study it more diligently. And Sambhav law की videos are already present. So what I did was before my 9th semester started, मैंने पहली tax की videos देख ली because tax is anyways a subject which a lot of students struggle with. तो पहले से अगर आपकी एक basic understanding है, then आप उसको college में भी पढ़ रहे हो, it's very easy for you to grasp. The main thing is just to be consistent. Even if you are not able to give 10 hours, 6 hours, 2 hours a day, even if you are able to sit for just 30 minutes, that will get you a very far way ahead.
True that. And actually, like apart from that, like if I talk about the last 3 or 4 months, basically what happens is that a lot of students what they do is कि वो लोग अपनी preparation को ना last में एकदम start करेंगे, like 2 months 3 months के उसमें, and they try to cover the whole syllabus और mocks लगाएंगे, वो करेंगे. So if you ask somebody who is basically going for this particular sort of strategy, what would be your advice towards that? And आपने खुद भी last के कुछ महीनों के लिए कैसे अपने time को basically वो किया, manage किया?
Sir, so firstly, if anyone is watching this video right now, I would not advise them to wait for October, November to start your preparation because it's always advisable to start as early as possible. If you're watching this in January, go ahead and start your preparation right now. You can start light and then you can build up your preparation. So, for example, जैसे आपको core subjects पढ़ने होते हैं, constitution पढ़ना है, आपकी criminal laws पढ़नी है, try to cover that like you had mentioned, sir. I had spoken to you on call one day and you had guided me कि मेरे को ये core subjects पहले 2 महीने of my preparation में cover करने हैं. Once that is done, you're very mentally relieved and then you can start focusing on other subjects. अगर आप अक्टूबर में सितंबर में अपनी preparation start कर रहे हो, it's going to be very difficult for you to be able to manage giving the mocks, analyzing the mocks, case laws करना, rudimentary subjects करना. I'm not saying that it's not possible, but then your university exams would suffer. So it's always better to start from the beginning and at least have your rudimentary subjects done and dusted. That way you are at least certain of a few marks in the exam.
No, that is true. That is true. And basically, the point is that if you start late, what happens is then you need to really decrease down the goal basically you're seeking for. If you're targeting NLS, you're targeting any PSU, you need to score in the top 20s या top 100, 200 में आपको लाने ही लाना है. So in that particular regard, you need to study in a way जहाँ पे सारा का सिलेबस कंप्लीटेड है. अगर आप लास्ट के 2-3 मंथ में स्टार्ट करते हो तो फिर आपको अपना सिलेबस भी रिड्यूस करना पड़ता है. अमाउंट ऑफ टाइम भी लिमिटेड होता है, अमाउंट ऑफ जो मॉक लगाने का टाइम है वो भी लिमिटेड है, लोड बहुत ज्यादा है, टाइम बहुत देना है, फिर दिमाग में रिटेन मतलब बहुत सारी प्लेथरा ऑफ प्रॉब्लम्स आपको आती हैं. सो इट इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट दैट टू स्टार्ट एट द मतलब एकदम साल के स्टार्टिंग में दैट यू कैन अकॉर्डिंगली गो टुवर्ड्स द उसके उस पे. अच्छा coming to my last question, Gaurangi, like if I talk about like there are students जो कि एग्जाम देते हैं बट due to some reason उनका एग्जाम अच्छा नहीं जाता है, what would be your message to them कि उनको कैसे मोटिवेटेड रहना चाहिए, फिर क्यों नहीं उनको बेसिकली नहीं होता है कि आपको नहीं अपना हौसला खोना है बेसिकली काइंड ऑफ लाइक दैट.
Sir, I would just recommend to those students that this is not an exam which is any do or die type of a situation where if you've given it once, you can't appear for it again. You will have another chance to give that exam. And in fact, now you can dedicate yourself more towards this exam and prepare better. Because hamare time mein in the previous exam, 2025, if you gave CLAT 2025, there was a lot of uncertainty regarding the new criminal laws which would be coming. So now that uncertainty is already eliminated. You don't have to study IPC, you don't have to study CRPC. You can look at the comparison charts, you can study the new laws, you have all the available material with you, and the material is very flexible. ऐसा नहीं है कि आपकी क्लासेस इतने से इतने बजे में हो रही हैं, आपको सारी वीडियोस रिकॉर्डेड पहले से मिली हुई हैं at your own convenience. Even if you're pursuing something else simultaneously, you're preparing for judiciary or you're working, even then you can chalk out that time and prepare. And especially if you're watching this video right now, it's not a tedious task to be able to study for this number of time and then score well in the CLAT PG exam. So I would say it's something that is extremely possible. And if you were not able to clear it in your first attempt, I would definitely suggest for you to attempt it again, because it is possible that you are not able to maintain that balance between university and the exam. But now if you are done with your university and you can devote yourself towards CLAT, it's nothing that is impossible.
Yeah, that is very rightly pointed out that you need to basically, have this attitude कि you can give it later also. और मान लो अगर अच्छा नहीं भी गया then you need to, give it like दोबारा से आपको ट्राई देना पड़ेगा. I think so like Gaurangi accordingly जो आपने अभी इस बार इस सेशन में चीजें बताई हैं या फिर जो भी आपने पॉइंट्स यहाँ पे बताए हैं, those are very very relevant and accordingly आपने जिस तरीके से उसको आर्टिकुलेट करा है that is I think so really something जो कि students will be, once they listen to it, they could really, basically get a lot of help from that. And I basically thank you very much कि आपने टाइम दिया and accordingly इस सेशन में आपने वो किया. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm very grateful to you and very grateful to Sambhav Law.